Hi everyone. I wanted to continue my story about my testimony. I ended last time kind of in where I had lost my virginity, and that was very traumatic. What actually happened after that, the very next morning, I was checked into the mental hospital in George, the Lamprecht Clinic. I had been to psychiatrists for a few years for my ADHD, and I was familiar with psychiatrists, but this was really traumatic for me. So I was in the Lamprecht Clinic in George for 7 days. I remember kind of being a bit overwhelmed. They had a set program for those 7 days. They would actually, I hadn't been sleeping very well. They put me on kind of a sleep therapy for the first, I think, if I remember, the first 3 days, where I literally just slept for 3 days. I'd like eat and sleep, eat and sleep. Then they had a program running during the morning. We'd have to, have lessons and learn about life. And then the afternoon was kind of free. They did have a jacuzzi, but it wasn't working. In that 7 days, I remember there was a lady a young girl, one of the young tennis stars actually, and she had anorexia. And what happened was that I didn't really have a conversation with her while I was in the clinic. But on the last day when I left, she asked to talk to me. And I remember sitting outside the entrance of the clinic, and we had a conversation, and she asked me why I could still be so stable and so, I can't remember exactly what she said, and I just said to her, no, it's Jesus. And I had a necklace that had a cross on it, a silver flat cross. I love those necklaces, and I actually felt to give it to her after that. While I was also in the clinic, they took me for ECG and a MRI to see if there was anything wrong with my brain. That was also very unexpected. I was put on, I can't even remember what medications, but the reason why I have to tell this part of the story is because when I landed in that clinic, I went from no medication, except maybe Ritalin for the ADHD, to taking about 9 medications every day. So they incorrectly diagnosed me as bipolar because of my emotional state. And obviously when something traumatic has happened to you, your emotional state is up and down. It is going to be traumatic. So I got put on 9 medications. I got put on the bipolar medication. So it was, for people who don't know, some people with bipolar, you have to have something that brings your highs down and your lows up. So antidepressants to stop you from getting too depressed, and then things that bring you down, and then stabilizers to keep you kind of on a medium emotional level. So I did not have, and I do not have bipolar, but I was put on these 9 medications. I think I had to take 4 in the morning, 4 midday, and 5 at night of different doses. I think there were about 5 or 6 different medications, but it was 9 pills. I distinctly remember that. So going from no pills to having a very traumatic event, because in the early hours of the morning, he actually drove me to the George State Hospital. We waited. I took the morning after pills, and that was after I tried to get the knives from the kitchen multiple times. The spirit of suicide definitely came in right after, and continuing on from that as well. So the many spiritual things that I got, as well as the diagnosed with many illnesses and things that I did not have after that event. There's a very marked difference between my life before that happened and my life after that happened. and actually getting free from all of that stuff. I did have depression, but of course something as dramatic as that. I think that kind of triggered more depression as well. At that time as well, they thought it would be good if in that December, I think I went home to Cape Town for, I think it was like a 2-week holiday just to kind of recuperate. It was in December to just kind of, recuperate. So what also happened after that 7 days in the clinic, my father had come to visit as well. And then I went on half duties in the dining room. So I just finished a management diploma in hospitality management. I wasn't given any management position. I was there to serve. I was there as a volunteer. So I was serving in the dining room, pouring the water, getting tables ready, setting the tables mainly, and putting out butter, milk, sugar, milk for the morning, salt and pepper, and those kind of things on the table. So I usually worked 8 hours, 6 days a week, or more if the job entailed longer hours. When I came back from the clinic, I was put on a half shift. So I was put on working 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, because of the shock to my system. I think that was for about a month, and then a month or two, and then I went on holiday back to Cape Town. So this needs telling, because many people don't believe in medication, and yes, some medications are not good. And yes, the consequence of this meant that it took me a few years to be on the right medication, and then again took a few years to actually not be on medication for depression at all. And the depression was linked to a few other things. But that is the next chapter of my testimony. I'm telling it in bits and pieces. There are quite a few pieces. If I did talk a whole half an hour segment, it might be a bit much. You can like and subscribe. I think you have to hit the notification bell if you want to notify when there are new videos. This is the testimony part.